individuals who fought to give us our freedom. And I'd like to tell you a story about one such individual. He was sitting at the base of a tree waiting to be called up for his unit. He had no shoes. He was chewing tobacco, but his musket was clean as a whistle, and he had his bag full of powder and his full of musket balls. And a very well-dressed European officer walked up to him and said, "Pardon me, but can you tell me where your master is?" Obviously, he was looking for the man's commander. Well, the American got up, spat out some brown tobacco juice, and said, "My master? The son of a bitch ain't been born yet." I'm glad to see so many still here. This is where it starts. It's already started. Many fine speakers have already taken some of the things that I was going to say, so that brings us a little bit closer to the end. It's not gun control, and we all know it. It's civilian disarmament. I volunteered for the Army in 1968, 5 combat units in Vietnam. And then 34 years later, I found myself in the desert in Iraq, serving again. One thing had changed. A lot of the soldiers serving were named Marianne, Carol, Danielle, and that sort of thing. It was a bit of a shock to see so many women all gunned up. During the Vietnam War, when I served, there was only one woman out of 58,000 killed in action. Her name was Sharon Ann Lane. She was an Army nurse, and she was killed when the North Vietnamese Army attacked her hospital. So far, there's been somewhere clear 80 women who have been killed in action overseas in Iraq or Afghanistan, and we should not forget that. They deserve our respect. It was my honor as much as it was my duty to serve my state, but it wasn't my right to do so. It was and remains a privilege to serve in the armed forces. The privilege of military service, a concept handed down in the ancient code of chivalry, that the man at arms serves only at the pleasure of God and King. I, as a soldier, I myself am humbled by the example of so many American soldiers who, with so much to lose and so little to gain, sacrificed himself over and over again to secure and then protect and defend the rights that are now being assailed by every two-bit politician and tyrant, no matter how high the office. Janet Napolitano described veterans this way: the possible passage of laws relaxing restrictions on firearms and the return of military veterans facing significant challenges in reintegrating into their communities could lead to the potential emergency terrorist groups or lone wolf extremists capable of carrying out violent attacks. Well, we are capable, but that's not who we are. I don't know about you, but a politician who won't trust me with a gun, I don't trust with my vote, and they don't belong here anymore. Those who once inhabited these places where America was born, Massachusetts and Connecticut, are not abstractions. And we, us here today, feel more kinship and attachment to their lives than we do to those who wrongly believe that they are our leaders today rather than our public servants, which is what they are, as well as to the passion of our founders for their commitment to American liberty, a devotion that we make our own precisely because of their example, which is both close and distant. The U.S. Constitution guarantees for us a Republican form of government in Article 4, Section 4, not a democracy. Here is what Marx and Lenin had to say about democracy. Democracy is indispensable to socialism. Democracy is the road to socialism, and the goal of socialism is communism. Why speak of communism today? Because of its 240 million dead victims the gulag of work camps, and the ever-present fear of that 3 o'clock knock on the door of an unarmed man's home. Your firearms guarantee your liberty. We know it, and so don't they. In America today, everything is broken. I challenge you to show me something that works. The schools, the courts, your legislators, town hall. We all know that none of it works, it's all broken, and that's not an accident. Is our taxation fair, and is it used for constitutionally sanctioned purposes? No, no, and no. And all this mischief begins with your tax dollars. In America today, the police can drag a mother from her car, and God bless that woman who was up here about an hour ago. 7 children. 7 children. In America today, the police can drag a mother from her car for not wearing a seatbelt, handcuff her, take her kids out of their car seats, put them into state custody, and haul mommy off to jail, and the Supreme Court said that was okay.
It's tyrannical!
Now before, a moment ago, someone brought up Waco, Texas, and Ruby Ridge, Idaho, where the U.S. military, in all of its might, was used against American civilians. Don't think it can't happen again. Did you know that we pumped, and I say we because it was our tax dollars, that the U.S. government pumped $20 million of tactical CS gas into a building where they knew many children were? $20 million worth of CS into a building. That disgusts me. Our armies are all over the world, and we're in a weakened state here at home, and we can't protect our own borders, or we won't. The FBI states that 8,000 home invasions occur in the U.S. daily. That includes when you're home and when you're not.
3 or more.
There are now 2 million organized gang members in the U.S. trained in the use of weapons and whose predilection for violence is a way of life. 2 million. That's 40,000 per state. What's going to happen if someday somebody pushes a button on these guys and says, anarchy now reigns in America, go and do your work? What's it going to mean? We outnumber them 10,000 to 1. What does it matter when politicians illegally create sanctuary cities and invite illegals to come in? We pay for that. We live under a one-party system since at least the administration of Woodrow Wilson. 2 parties with one idea. Under the veil of compromise, the Democrat and Republican Party delivers conspiracy against you and me. The Democrat and Republican Party promises reform, but they are delivering revolution. And the Democrat Party at every level profanes the sacred institutions of this nation as it dismantles them and our past for a collectivist future. They don't belong here anymore.
Right.
Unfaithful they are to their sworn oath to protect and defend the Constitution of this state and for the United States. You are not worthy of your post. Now, I would like to leave you with this Patriot's oath. Today, the vengeance of hell boils in my heart. I despair the demise of this republic as it appears in flames about me. If through these elected representatives, and they have been elected, if through them this republic feels the pain of death, they will be remembered evermore in infamy. I disown them. I disown them. I disown them forever. Abandoned may they be, forever destroyed in the history of this state, my state of Connecticut, and this country as good faith representatives of the American people. Unfaithful to their sworn oaths of office, yes, they are not worthy of their post. May they be released from every bond of nature that ties them living to this planet. May their souls rot with the damned for eternity for their effort to disarm the people. Now, these last words come from George Washington. The time is near at hand when we must probably determine whether Americans are to be freemen or slaves, whether they are to have any property they can call their own, whether their houses and farms are to be pillaged and destroyed, and themselves consigned to a state of wretchedness from which no human efforts will deliver them. The fate of unborn millions will now depend under God on the courage and conduct of you here today and others like you. Because what's happening in Massachusetts and Connecticut is happening border to border and coast to coast, and we all know it. Our cruel and unrelenting enemy leaves us only the choice of brave resistance or the most abject submission. We have therefore to resolve to conquer or die. And we should never despair, said Washington. Our situation before has been unpromising and has changed for the better. So I trust it will again. If new difficulties arise, we must only put forth new efforts, new energies, and proportion our efforts to the exigencies of the times. That was George Washington. I feel so much more kinship, don't you, with our founding fathers than with these people who sit in office and think that they are above us today. They are in for a rude awakening. Thank you very much.